Time is now 6:30. I'd like to call the regular Board of Finance meeting to order for October 21st. All can join me in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Tom Sinkowitz, Don Cavella.
Here.
Kim Medlin is absent. Travis Irons.
Here.
Debbie Main is absent. Gary Stallowine.
Here.
Matt Rabe. Here. Keith Sheila.
Here.
So, Matt and Keith, you both have voting rights for that. All right, acceptance of the minutes from the September 16th, 2020 meeting. Minutes were distributed, posted. Any questions, comments?
I'll move that we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, first item under new business. Update on the upcoming town audit. Wanted to hear, since we have we got Kelly and Ron from our schools here tonight, wanted to just discuss briefly this because I was actually thinking to where we were at around this time last year when it came to the audit. And I remember looking back at some of my notes and some of the minutes, how we had a lot of course, concern as far as with the audit company, where we were at, and then going on down the road as far as needing extensions. But fortunately, in my discussions with Kelly, it looks like we're very much on track right now, so I was happy to hear that. So I figure, why not get an early update as far as where we're at timeline-wise and what has been kind of covered thus far with the schools and the town site. So I'd like to start with Ron. Ron, anything
Sure.
update?
I've been working with Kelly via email. We've been reconciling the after-school care account, the federal account, and the regular school operating budget. We're in pretty good shape. I think I've got all the pieces in order. As you know, one of the audit suggestions was that we get a new financial system. But please keep in mind, that's for 2021. That doesn't impact the 1920. We're still under the same old model as we were last year. However, because now that I know what the auditors are looking for, and I've got the models of what I presented to them last year, and been working with Kelly on this, we're at a point where I think I'm going to be able to get the trial balances to them probably within the next week. And our numbers are tying pretty close together, and we are tying quite nicely to our bank statements. So I think we're in good shape. I don't think we're going to need extensions this time at all.
Okay, good. Kelly, any other?
This audit firm, they use a software system called Uline. So I have to download all the important documents online, and then they review them, then we go back and forth. So majority of them, I would say 85%, all the documents are online. So they're going to start pulling stuff this weekend, and they should be out on Monday.
Okay. Now, when are you going to look at putting together the, not the audit side, but the rest of the narrative of
Yeah, we already did an email maybe a week or two ago, and I asked for all the information by November. I don't know the exact date off the top.
Okay.
To pull, people have already submitted it to me, so I'm
Okay,
keeping a
good.
tally.
All right, in the next couple of weeks, then I'll get the Board of Finance one to you.
And all of our GASB reports were completed, the 67, 68, 74, and 75. One is regarding the pension, the other one is OPEB, so they're completed.
Kevin, quick question. Are we looking to have the annual town meeting on the date as it stipulates in the charter, or are we waiting to see when the audit gets completed?
I believe that all of the reports from the town departments will be in, and we can prepare for that. The question would only be is if the auditor's report is completed and gets back to us in time.
Yeah.
So we're anticipating that we can get ours done in time, no problem. We just don't know about the auditors. One other point about the auditors, we've been in negotiation for the contract for that, and I've actually been able to talk them down a little bit from what they were trying to get for this year. And I will send you an email to that effect to explain what the differences are and why. So at this point, I think we're in a good shape as far as getting that part of it done. But again, I don't know what the turnaround is going to be from the auditors. I do plan on making contact with you to get an idea of if we're on time or not, so that we can at least go to the meeting saying that we could conceivably have it on time, or if there's a delay, roughly how long it would be.
Okay.
I just want to make note too about the auditors. When we were looking at the contracts, we noticed the prior auditor we had was maybe 34, 35,000 a year, and this one's 60. So just so you know the difference in the prices.
Yeah. All right. Any questions for Kelly or Ron in regards to the audit? No? Okay. Moving on to item 2, update for the Board of Ed on monthly expenditures. So, Ron, thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you for distributing that report. I like that at least we had that as a point of reference, as a good starting point. Certainly wanted to give the opportunity to the Board of Finance members to, inquire about if there's any specific line items on there that they want, more information about. That's certainly something we can follow up with you on, afterwards.
Sure.
But the other thing was, as far as formatting, if you might, I know you and I had a quick conversation on the phone about how, this is, of course, the general overview, but as far as other formatting, it sounded like you were saying it can be pretty complex and hard to really break it down and send it out that way electronically, so you can maybe just...
Well, I can send it out any way you'd like to see it.
Yeah.
The problem that I have is if I get asked a question, I may not know off the cuff what my answer is because there's hundreds of lines that feed each of those lines. I can give you an overview of what you have in front of you now if you'd like. If you'd like, I could step off on that point now, or do you have more you wanted to say first?
Yeah, no, we can go into that. I just want to make sure, does everyone have a copy? Everyone get that? Should we have that? Okay.
So what you have in front of you shows that our operating budget right now is about $9 million. I'm going to use round numbers because it's just off the top of my head right now. I have it here, but it's easier just to keep on speaking. We're under budget by about $9 million projected for year end. However, there are a half a dozen lines in there that you'll notice are huge underruns, and that's because we don't have the encumbrances in place yet. Health insurance, transportation, athletic transportation, other odds and ends that are in there that make up roughly $7 million more cost that will come off that underrun. In reality, we are about $1.8 million under in actual expenditures. We will see other costs for transportation, which we expect to see a savings this year again. Health insurance will probably be on target to be where we're at based on what's in the budget. So for the most part, there's about $1.8 million that is available for the schools to spend that isn't really tied to a particular fixed cost, that if I can say it that way. For things like supplies, repairs to the school, services that they need to keep the schools operating. The other thing that is not encumbered is utilities. There's the utility line you'll see is a big underrun. That's because we didn't put a blanket purchase order in place at this point in time. We were waiting to see exactly where we sat with all our movement of people because of this COVID issue. That you'll notice as being an overrun in the 111 account. It's close to the top of that report. I think it substitutes and then it goes to the 111 account. You'll see that we're over budget by about $200,000 and some odd $1,000. That's going to go away because the budget that's loaded in there right now is the original budget that was approved by the town. I have not baked in yet all the changes that have occurred over the last couple of months where the assistant superintendent, Mr. Sugarman, has pulled back some of the special needs children into district. So you'll see a big underrun in the tuition line, which is about 2/3 the way down. So we're in the middle of trying to rectify and reconcile that. I'm going to be sitting with Mr. DePietro, Mr. Sugarman, and Mrs. Cadro, the administrative team from central office, to go over and actually get the budget into the right buckets for where we are right now. And that's going to readjust those numbers. The numbers that are a real overrun that we hope I can mitigate through some of the savings that we have in other areas are things like workers' compensation and general liability. If you remember, a couple of years ago, the prior finance director and myself sat with Kerma, and they had developed a distribution of the costs. And apparently it wasn't done as accurately as it should have been, and Mrs. Vashon has sat with the Kerma team and had come up with the new distribution of rates, which is fine. We have no problem with that. I mean, it is what it is. If we owe money, we owe money. The new distribution causes us to overrun in those accounts, so that's why you see those overruns. We're going to mitigate that through savings in other areas. I still have to find those savings, but we'll get there. Let's see, workers' comp, unemployment. We've got a huge issue with unemployment because of COVID. I have a report that actually is graphic, it's a graph, and it shows that for the prior 2 years, we were down at the lowest unemployment cost in our history. And now, this year, it's now spiked way back up again. We were running about $12,000 to $15,000 a year for unemployment. We're now at 50, and we're only at 3 months into the year to be an overrun. So there are a couple little areas that we are in a serious issue with, but we can rectify that through underrun savings in other areas. For the most part, I'm pretty confident that we'll be well under budget by year end. As you may or may not know, we have two significant grants that have been given to us, the CARES Act and the Corona Relief. That's roughly $800,000 of expenditures that we've incurred for things like computers for social distancing for children, PPE equipment, cleaning supplies. Instead of coming out of the operating budget, that is being applied to that $800,000. And we still have money left in those accounts. So from the operations of the schools themselves, we're doing well. We're under plan. Once we start coming to the end of the two CARES Act and Corona Relief, it'll be a different story, but we're hoping by that time that perhaps Corona will be a thing of the past, or at least mitigated to a certain extent. So we're comfortable right now, and I feel confident that the numbers you see in front of you are solid from the actuals and encumbrances. We just need to move the buckets, the budget buckets, to where they need to be because of the fact that we've moved some staff around. That's kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah, what was the amount on the, I'm trying to remember, the 2% saving? Was that 500,000 something?
Yes, sir. Actually, I just received a document today from Mrs. Vashon. Was that 30,000 coming to the schools? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's going to be about 537,000 because right now we're 507 under planning for last year, and that 30,000 will be additional monies that can go against that 2%. The other money, just as a point, the other money that we submitted to, or the claim that we submitted to FEMA, where we only received a relatively small amount. The other monies that were being rejected by FEMA can go against CARES and Corona Relief. So we don't see that as being a burden to our operating plan.
Questions or comments for Ron?
Ron, how are the payments from the CARES Act and Corona Relief being distributed? Is there a set timetable when the last payment will be distributed, or are you working off of a lump sum payment that was paid to the town or the district?
Every month, I request funds from the state of Connecticut through what they call the grant management system, electronic grant management. I base my projection on what I think we're going to be spending in the next month, and I request that money from the state. They then send us that money, it goes into the buckets, and we expend it.
And what's the forecast on that? When is that program ending, or when will you no longer be able to access?
I'm not exactly sure of the dates, Mr. Redon. I think CARES Act is 12/30. I think it's done 12/30, and I think Corona Relief goes a little bit longer. I don't know the specifics of the grant dates.
Okay, so this, at least one of them we know by the end of the calendar year.
Yes.
Is that will sunset. What accounts or budget areas do you see the overruns, or what accounts do you see becoming an issue once you're not able to access those funds? Are there any that you have an idea that are going to be problematic?
I would only say, wherever we buy our PPE, I'm not exactly sure what the account number would be at this point. It's usually out of the pupil personnel account. Usually, it's not a purchase service, so it must be like purchase equipment, maybe account 430, something like that.
That's right.
It'd be one of the accounts that's running over right now. So I mean, because right now that's where the money is, and we're doing internal entry to move it over to the current relief.
I guess to phrase my question more intelligently, then what cost areas would still be expected? PPE being one of them.
It'd be PPE and cleaning supplies, and possibly some maybe some labor for substitutes, because I believe some of those funds are available for the corona relief. And I believe transportation is in there too. I think transportation is a line item in the corona relief. Mrs. Cadro is actually rewriting the grant this week. I think it's due by Friday, where we had buckets. They were very strict on where the money had to go. And what they did was they ended up giving us $150,000 for transportation. And we said, well, we're not going to use it all. Can we move it? And they said, well, no. Now we've been given the opportunity to move it. So Mrs. Cadro is in the position now to move the dollars to where she thinks it's going to actually be spent. And I believe we're taking the transportation line down to about $50,000, moving the $100,000 over to like salaries or PPE.
One area that I think of that is not concerned in relation to COVID or anything, but just one of those that definitely need to proceed with caution on planning ahead to the next budget season is pension contributions. Because thinking back to this past year, and I know this is something that's come up with several citizens who I've talked to about this year's budget, about it coming out of the fund balance, and how that was something that was obviously approved for this year, and carried through to this budget, but in a very short time, we're going to be planning ahead to the next budget. Sure. And so the question has come up of, so if it's not going to be coming from the fund balance, where's that $800,000 or whatever the figure is going to be for a pension contribution going to come from? So just something to keep in mind, and I know that we'll be having future discussions on that as far as the contribution.
And we're prepared to ramp up that pension contribution. That's something Mr. DePietro and I have discussed. I think in the past, our contribution was between $300,000 and $400,000. I don't believe it was up to the $800,000 level. That would be a pretty big burden to the operating plan for the schools. But I think we're prepared to do the ramp up to the $300,000 to $400,000 range, but that might be over a year or two. I wouldn't go and try to jump at $300,000 because I think it's $100,000 now. I mean, that'd be a pretty stiff increase unless there was a way to really offset it with some kind of revenue somewhere. That'd be significant. But yes, it's on our radar. And as you gentlemen review that packet, if you do have specific questions on any particular area, please feel free to relay the information to Mr. Sequitz. He can get it over to our board chair, and then she can get it to me, and I can get you specific answers. I mean, the data is real. It's just a matter of giving me the opportunity to be able to go into my files and pull out exactly what it was that we spent. I'm pretty proud of the fact that I can support these numbers.
Gary, just curious if you have any thoughts on just the format of this report. Do you think this is good as a starting point, or do you think there's some other information that could be included in it?
As a starting point, it's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. For the time being. So I don't know, it doesn't matter to me how you go about this, Ron, if you want to include Kelly and I on your email list when you email it to the Board of Ed, or if you want to send it as a separate email, fine, but if you could just do this on whatever day of the month you would usually do it, send this report to it, I'll make sure it gets to the Board of Finance members.
Usually what I do, Mr. Sinkwitz, is I give the packet to Tammy Seymour. She distributed it to the board. So maybe at that point, it'd be a time for her to distribute to you gentlemen also, or to you, so you can do something. I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it's public
the key
information.
is if we could just definitely make it a regular habit.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
just like we do every month with the town budget statement, we take
Sure.
the time to review it. I definitely like to include this just regularly. So if there is anything that is of concern to the board members, we'll just be in the habit of taking a browse through it and then putting whatever concerns we have on the record and then inquiring to you and doing a follow-up.
Sure. The summary sheet that you have in front of you is one that we use for the board as a snapshot. Mr. Radot's seen it probably coming to the Finance Committee meetings. But there's also a general ledger detail that lists it by school and by what they call function codes. In other words, if you look at the 111 account, that's the certified salaries. Well, that certified salaries is made up of teachers, it's made up of administrators, it's made up of people who might be in guidance. So it gets broken down, it keeps getting broken down. Then within those, you have it at a particular location. You might have it at Shepherd Hill, you might have it at Moosa. So I mean, there's a million ways we can break this down, and that's why I tried to explain that for me to have a quick answer on why something might be over, it's not that easy. I need some time to be able to go and drill down into the account and be able to find the proper answer. That's one of the things Mr. Petro chuckles with me about, because he'll always ask me something, and I say, I can't give you that answer because I don't want to give you an answer that's not correct. When I say something, I want it to be as accurate as possible, and that way nobody can challenge me.
Just a quick question on
Yes, sir.
the vacation and sick leave.
Yes, sir. That's
the
another line.
overrun on that one.
Yes, that is because we had a couple people leave the district that we had not expected. What happens is you get administrators who decide to leave. They have a buildup of sick time or vacation time, and that becomes a payout for them. And over the last 2 years, we've had a couple of administrators leave that were a big hit to that account. And
So they were basically admins that
oh, yeah,
contributed
absolutely,
to that? Okay.
absolutely. And to go a little bit further, Estelle, on that, also teachers, I believe, are in there. So like, I have a listing of
Right.
what supports that number, and because it's paid out on a monthly basis or when the person leaves, I can get the records of who exactly contributed to that account. It's basically the professional staff. I guess that'd probably be a better way to put it.
The certified salary, basically.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, any other questions or comments for Ron? No. All right, once again, Ron, thanks for coming out tonight.
I would note that we haven't received any more state revenue, as you can see. We still just received Town Aid Road. So just take note of that. I talked to the tax collector, and right now we've collected 53% of what she was estimated for the whole year. So last year at this time, we collected 50%. So it's in the ballpark, so we're doing okay. I was worried about that. So that looks okay. Let's see. I don't know, like expenditures, I don't know if you guys see anything. I want to let you know, town clerk, you're going to see supplies and expense, it's a credit. The reason why it's a credit in there, we received some money from the state of Connecticut regarding the ballots, absentee ballots, so we received like $5,000, so that's why it's a credit in there. She'll absorb that when she orders, stuff that she needs. But that's why there's a credit in there. What else? Unemployment, like Ron just stated with the school, we might have a problem with that too. Right now, we budgeted $16,000 for the year. Right now, $8,300. is coming out of that line item. That is through the month of August, I think. So this is October. They're slow when they give us our invoices. So I'm anticipating for us to hit easily 16,000, if more, based off of what I see on the current statements. Our LAP policy, general insurance, that might be close. We have some legal issues right now going on, and there's a deductible with our KERMA policy, so I received one the other day, $5,000, and that's a legal issue that we have going on in the town, which we're using their counsel for. Let's see, is anything? You can see on page 7, LoSiP, we used 9,500, and that's for the first portion of the website. We talked about the website, we're gonna get a new website for the town. That's what that represents. Those are the items that I can see that pop out, but I don't know if you guys have anything specific, line items.
I have one on the building inspector's salary,
Building,
the department head.
yeah?
He's already at 59%.
It's, if you don't mind,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's because that's my fault. What happened was, we had a building inspector who hadn't got a certification. By the time he got a certification, we'd already had our budget in for what he was making. So he didn't get, it was an agreed upon interest of a small percentage. So that's why it's going to be a little over. So we'll make an adjustment during the year to cover that.
So what's his new salary now?
I don't have it off the top of my head, and I can get you that afterwards, but it was a small increase over what he was making before, based on the fact he got a certification.
In the town clerk's office, how many people are in there?
We have,
For salaries, not the salaries.
oh, two.
Two?
Yep, 2, and they're the same position. In union contract, they're the same position, same salary, 2.
Okay. I was gonna say, their salaries so far seem a little low compared to the $90,345 for the year.
So 70, well, salaries.
See there, the budget
Yeah, I
at
would-
$93.45.
Okay, the
You're
reason
at
why
16?
that is a little funky is because we had a lady that left.
Right,
We didn't
retired,
hire,
right?
yeah, we didn't hire right away. It took a few weeks, so that's the lapse.
I
That's
wasn't sure when
represented.
she retired, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, God, was it August?
I know Cindy's been there,
Yes, in
you know,
July, we
the
don't
whole
have to get
time,
back
but-
until August.
Yeah. Was that July? July 1st. July 1st, she retired.
Okay, beginning of the, okay, but you
Yeah,
didn't hire
it was a
right
few
away,
weeks
right?
before we hired someone.
How long?
I don't even know. I don't remember when.
Oh, okay, August then?
Yeah, sometime in August.
Yeah, so that's the lapse period.
Same rate as
Yeah,
when I retired?
yes, yeah, union contract, yeah.
Kevin, there's been nothing unexpected as far as expenses that have come up with the pool in this hiatus that it's been shut down, correct?
Yeah, as everybody knows, because of COVID-19, we can't bring it up and operate it, but we still have to run the lines through, so you're expending heat for electricity and the pumps to be running. So that dehumidifier is still processing, but we have it covered over right now, so it minimizes the effect of the humidity, and it also keeps the electricity low for flow. So,
Nothing is like cracked out in.
oh no, we're okay right now. But again, we don't have that pool operating, so we don't have a pool supervisor or the part-time positions for it. So there's nothing coming in, but there will be a higher, obviously a small expenditure going out.
Yeah, because that was another thing I was looking back at was all the money that we had approved, of course, that was like right before COVID, back in like February.
Yep.
To fix all those. And we never really talked much about it afterwards because, of COVID and a lot of the other problems we had, but that was one thing I was curious about is did everything check out as far as all that money that we approved, everything was expended on those items?
We had it opened up for maybe 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Everybody was coming back. Actually, we were getting more people coming in. and then COVID shut it down.
Was the pool supervisor position eliminated, or is that a furlough status?
Well, right now, we're working on that issue. I can give him more detail, but I can't give it up publicly, so, but I can tell you that we're working on that issue.
Refresh my mind, well, we're not using electricity, supplies, and gas for the animal control.
That animal control is a separate fund, so it's Fund 14, this is Fund 10. So we have to budget a portion of their expenditures, and I moved the money over to that Fund 14. That hasn't yet been done. So once
14?
I move the funds, you'll see all of that get expensed. And that's an estimate for a whole year.
So when are you going to report that update? Probably next week or week after?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you can use the 9,000 for the ice rink for something in case you need it?
I'm sorry, for what?
The 9,000 you have for the ice rink?
We're not going to expend those monies this year. I don't expect that to be spent. We were exactly into the point of, we have a freeze going on. We're not going to be purchasing, we're not going to be, at this point, hiring anybody new. We may do something like that because we were budgeted for the full-time rec director position. We're also budgeted for the grant writer position. Don't forget, we do have a person retiring this year. He's already told us he's going to retire, and that'll be the fire marshal, so we're going to go out to post for that position. So those three will come up at the same time. We're going to post those all up there. But yeah, we're not going to spend money like that. Fireworks, another one. So while we're in that freeze, we're not going to be expending monies like that. We anticipate whatever happens with COVID, which offsets our budget later on in the year, we'll do the line item transfers to make sure we're appropriate. I did want to mention one thing. I didn't want to steal your thunder, but we got the email about the reimbursement for the $6,000.
State of Connecticut.
That was for the tempered glass, so we did put that money in. We did get something back for it.
Oh, okay. That's great. Kelly, where did you say the rest was going to be coming from in the budget?
Tempered glass, that came out last year's budget, building repairs.
Building repair.
Yeah, so that's all covered, didn't go over the line item, we did line item transfer for it,
Yeah.
so that's all taken care of.
I think if you look on the town side of the budget, we're very, very conservative. We're not going overruns anywhere that are outstanding, that something that jumps out at you, but I think we're doing pretty well.
On the Northeast Transit District,
Yes,
putting in for 22,000 people using buses.
absolutely. I was
You
checking
know what the
with
ridership is by chance? The ridership?
Ridership numbers actually are better in the morning than they are in the afternoon. I checked with one of the drivers the other day to check on their numbers. We have 2 people who are regular riders on a regular basis, plus we have other people who take it sporadically. But the numbers in the morning, we're actually getting at 4 or 5 people every morning, and that's what the bus allows, 5 people. Then in the afternoon, it's about 3. So far, it's actually worked out pretty good. They've taken the transfers up north. I'm not sure about how many people have taken it down south, but I can get those numbers for you next meeting.
I was just curious.
Okay. And of course, there's it was anticipated 26,000, we came in with 22, so there'll be some money available if we have to do a line item transfer later on for that, but we do have availability.
Yeah, and obviously in the 21-22 budget, I mean, no question, we're going to build that in to cover the transportation. It'll be probably the one after that is when we'll have to reassess.
Right.
As far as where we're at with the ridership and saying, hopefully, I'm hoping that it continues to be utilized. It'll be something obviously that will stick around for a long time.
So far, it's been utilized, and I think that even with COVID, the people coming out and utilizing it, it's pretty good.
Kelly, when do we normally start getting state revenues?
When we what?
Normally start getting state revenues.
Oh, state revenues, they vary. I would say You should start seeing some of the pilot programs in November, but that's just my estimate right now. That's in the past what it has been.
All right, any other questions, comments, concerns on the budget statement? No? All right. Moving on to citizens' participation. Very quiet group. Not used to that. All right, hearing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion is second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?